Hello, everybody. This is my third interview. I am joined, as you can see, with an equally wonderful back screen and logo with Mushtaque Ahmed of JJ Foodservice. Mushtaque is the Chief Operating Officer. And very much looking forward to the next 15 minutes or so, because JJ are one of those businesses which have literally transformed their business in such a short period of time. And so I'm very much looking forward to hearing his side of the story and how it's gone and how it's going to continue to go. So thank you, Mushtaque. Mushtaque, first question. I mean, phenomenal change in a short period of time, going from a trade-only wholesaler to setting up direct-to-consumer home delivery. How did it come about?
Hi, Tom, and hi, everyone. For us, it's been a reset the counter to 3 zeros moment. I mean, you and I probably old enough or green enough to remember the old cassette player. So after 999, it would go down to 3 zeros. So the mid-March or late March was that 3-0 moment for us. And not only for us, is I think for the entire industry, or to a certain degree to the whole world. So if you start like that, then you say like, wow, what just happened? We have been extremely busy to come out of that zero moment. And the way we did that was basically just take a step back, roll our sleeves, dive in, and then just look at it. Overnight, all our customers base have disappeared, and for no fault of ours own, and it's the crisis in the world. So when you talk about achievement, I mean, we look at it slightly differently. We look at it as a fight for our own survival, if you will. So we had to look at few things, the key components of the business, which was our customers, our suppliers, our products, our branch locations, our employees, the entire supply chain, and link all these processes together to run a 24/7 operation from a completely wholesale to a different avenue. And we thought that since our food service customers can no longer remain open, consumers were the only route to go to. And what also helped that there was a crisis nationwide, that the traditional retail outlets couldn't cope with the demand. So that definitely created some spare capacity in the market to go into. And the time was of essence, so we had to do it very fast. We had to remobilize our workforce. And the very first thing we did actually dropped the 125 pounds minimum order value to 79 pounds to make it more accessible for the consumers. That's first thing. Secondly, we had to look at our products, like all these big pack wholesale items. We had to quickly scan through our entire product portfolio to see what are the products which will immediately fit the consumer needs, and what else we could do to split the bulkier items into a more smaller pack size to make it affordable for the consumers. Second thing was like the logistics and transportation arrangements for all those deliveries to go to the customers' doorsteps. Not to mention about all those social distancing issues, which was new to everybody, not to us only. It was new to the consumers. It was new to our colleagues, those who were at the front end of these services. And we also had to adjust our internal operation within our branches, whether the office employees or our colleagues working in the warehouse. So there was a bit of a learning curve initially to adjust the operations and adjust the products and services. So yes, we achieved a lot during a short period of time, but we learned a lot as well, if I can put it that way.
And had you, as a business and as a management team, maybe over the last year or two, been thinking that you would go straight to consumers, and so some of the thinking had taken place? Or really, the the date when essentially the government asked us not to go out to pubs and bars and restaurants, that weekend and that week combined with the lockdown, is that when it all came together, or had a bit of pre-thinking gone ahead of that time?
It's an interesting question. I mean, it's yes or no. In fact, the door has always been open. I mean, we never closed the door to consumers, but it was never a big focus. I mean, our business was predominantly wholesale food service sector, and consumer business was, even if it is worth mentioning, is less than 5%.
Yeah.
So what has happened is basically this crisis given us the opportunity and the courage to take this avenue seriously. So in fact, that became the only focus rather than very diversified focus. The consumer market became the only focus because that was the avenue for our own survival. So that definitely worked as a catalyst, this crisis, but opened the new doors for us.
Yeah. And marketing to consumers, how did you do that? Have you been using social media predominantly, or have you tried other tactics and strategies as well?
Marketing has been a challenging task, actually, because we never knew how to do this into the consumer sector. Our main focus was always the food service and the catering business. So we had to learn this from ground zero, pretty much. But what was pretty good in the sense that we decided to use all the possible platforms, whether it's website, all the social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, we used pretty much all of them, Google listings, etc. And then the other thing was, as you know, traditionally, wholesalers would always target the trade press for any kind of promotional updates, whether there's monthly regular articles, and we had no interactions with say, for argument, the national presses and then local community groups, etc. So we had to focus on those areas as well. A lot of charity organizations, NHS, police, ambulance service, all these things. So as a result, we managed to be published in Mail Online, Time Out Magazine, Telegraph, and surprise, we are also a recommended alternative supplier on the Cystic Fibrosis Trust website as well. So yes, a lot of marketing activities, we found them to be quite challenging. But having said that, they were not impossible with the interest in the area and the willpower. I think it is achievable, and we managed to do exactly that.
You'd be delighted to know that Mushtaque, that I would have, I became a consumer customer within about 36 hours of you launching. So,
so that tells me only one thing, that the systems and the processes we have got in place can get somebody online and get going and get our services and products to their doorstep very quickly. I'll take that as a compliment, Tom. Thank you very much.
Well, please do. It was meant to be a compliment. Absolutely. You talked about, when we first started this conversation a few minutes ago, that you've learned a lot. Have you evolved the offer and your thinking and your processes? I mean, I guess when did you launch? 4 weeks or so ago, I guess?
Yes, absolutely.
So between then and now, how much has stayed the same from 4 weeks ago, and how much has changed? And was that because you've had to change, or you can see an opportunity to flex? How's that worked?
Yeah, fantastic question. Actually, it's changing every day, and some of the things are changing by the hours. I mean, we have not stopped learning, and we have not stopped changing. Just to take you back to 4 weeks before, I mean, it was not a perfect solution what we went out in the market, because we pretty much launched it in 8 hours. So it started 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning after the lockdown was announced, and we had a service offering by 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And within that 8 hours, we did so many things: drop the minimum order value, compiled a list of products which are suitable for the consumer market, delivered some marketing materials via emails, got the IT team to tune the website, write some scripts to configure the systems for recognizing customers' areas, postcodes, etc., etc. So the initial product was delivered within 8 hours on a Saturday when most of our employees were not even in their regular working mode. So what happened since then, that first few days, things were changing by the hours, whether talking to a supplier middle of the night, or getting some bulkier packs split into packets in the warehouse, or getting IT people to change something on the website. So things were changing by the hours initial days, and now things are more settled down. We are introducing more products. Initially, we probably had around 100 products just geared up for the consumer sector. Now it has gone past 400, and we're introducing new items every day. And since then, we have also introduced within London area some limited same-day service as well. So we are possibly the only company in the country now who are not only taking orders until 9 o'clock in the night and delivering the next day, but we also, in addition to that, have started a service from 3 of our London branches where you can place an order until 11 o'clock in the morning and get a delivery by 6 o'clock in the evening the same day. So yes, new services have come up, and we're experimenting. Every day we're experimenting with products, services, and technology. So we're still learning and we're still changing.
I've heard great quotes from business leaders saying their business has changed more in the last 4 to 6 weeks than it has in the last 4 to 6 years. Would you agree with that?
100%. I mean, absolutely no doubt. I mean, you know what, Tom? A situation like this, it doesn't come every day. I mean, I think it's a once in a century type of event. So what you are going through now, or the whole world is going through, it is not something you can predict or simulate, and you cannot write down a business contingency plan or a disaster recovery plan of this magnitude in any shape or form. So it's a natural process, not something everybody would expect or want, but the statement of change is 100% agreeable, and I think everybody is learning a lot and adapting to this.
And do you think that the people who are working, whether it's management, board level, mid-management, those working in the depots, if they obviously, hopefully they get a bit of time to reflect on this, but this should give them a huge amount of confidence going forward that they and the business can retain customers and be extremely resilient, but also extremely agile. I mean, there's a wonderful management studies piece in all of this agility as well, I believe.
Tom, you know what? You pay a lot of money to go to a MBA session of a top university to learn a lot of these things. But this is, in my optimistic and positive mind, this is a free lesson for the whole management of every business in the world. And you're getting it for free. So rather than looking at it as a doom and gloom and all finished, this teaches us quite a few things. It teaches us survival of the fittest. It also tells us how to manage any kind of disastrous situation. It tells us how to optimize it to the level where you can manage a situation where you have no business versus where you manage a situation where you have got 3 times more than a regular business. Think about the retail sector. I mean, if you look at any of the retail outlets website, you cannot get a delivery slot for next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
That means they're in a position where their business has probably grown, I don't know, 10-20 folds. So they are probably, well, nobody could have prepared for this type of thing. So they are stress testing their system. So are we. I mean, well, first couple of weeks, we were overwhelmed with the customer's demand. At the same time, a lot of suppliers were affected by their own problems in their warehouses, in their supply chain. So there was a short supply of the products. There was a huge demand of certain products like hygiene products, sanitizing, toilet rolls, all these the pasta, rice, tin food. So how you manage these things, you cannot create these examples just theoretically and then try to simulate it. Whereas we have to deal with these things physically and practically and in real life. So how you stress test your system, how you test your weaknesses. Are you over-resourced? Are you under-resourced? So all these elements of a business came all together in one go. And this also has also proved how you manage your assets, how you manage your manpower, how you manage your cash flow. So this will actually clean up the industry a lot, which is definitely a positive thing. It will teach every business how to be very agile, how to be very adaptive, how to quickly diversify your product portfolio, your process portfolio, your technology portfolio. And this is the positive thing I actually take out of this doom and gloom situation. So it's lessons to learn for everybody.
You mentioned technical. Now, JJ have always tried to be one of the leaders in digital and technology. Has that helped you significantly over the last 4 weeks, digital technology?
I mean, it goes without saying, Tom. I mean, it is 100% agree with that statement. But I'd like to actually elaborate a little bit on this. During this crisis period, the buzzword has been PPE for the health service workers, personal protective equipment. For us, the buzzword is PPT, and what it really means is people, processes, and technology. So PPT is, and I think these three are actually interlinked. Why I say that, one cannot succeed without the other. Now, the team at JJ has a great can-do attitude towards work. And basically, when it comes to a crisis like this, nothing seems impossible. And people did roll their sleeves and dived into problem solving. I mean, in our business, when it runs smoothly, it's a 4x100-meter relay race in an Olympic stadium. So one team does one task and then it hands over to another one. So it could be comparable with your salespeople taking orders and then handing it over to the transport logistics people, those who will then actually put them into various meaningful routing system. And then they hand over the job to the warehouse people, those who will pick, pack, and load. And then our delivery colleagues will go out on the road and deliver it to the doorstep of restaurants or consumers. So if you want to make this relay race is a very seamless experience in the journey, then yes, you need those people with a fantastic culture of can-do attitude towards work. So that's your people component of my PPT. And then the next thing is processes. In order to deliver that great experience of service, you need seamless and very fine-tuned processes in place to manage all of this. Just to elaborate on this particular example, this morning when I was looking at some alert emails coming from our telematics, suddenly it just triggered off in my mind, hey, the roads are empty. So are the drivers now having a free ride on the road and then speeding and then causing a lot of harsh events like sudden braking or harsh cornering or a sharp turn approaching a roundabout and so on. So you need to have various processes. Are your picking activities happening at a right pace in your branches? Are you overstocking? Are you understocking? All these things. So that's your process component of it. And then the final component is the technology, which is in order to deliver this seamless experience. Without the right technology in place, you may have the best people, you may have the best processes written down, but without the help of the technology, you'll not be able to achieve any of this. Yeah. So people need to use those technology through those processes to deliver the best results. And all three components are interlinked and one cannot succeed without the other. That's sort of my verdict on this.
Great.
Whether it makes sense to you or not, but that's how we look at it. Yeah,
nice. I've got a couple of quick questions left. I now work for TWC, the data specialists. In a funny sort of way, I guess data may have actually been hard for you to use when you first launched because you were starting with a blank canvas. That might be not correct. But how are you using data now that you're kind of 4.5 weeks in?
Data is everything, to be honest, Tom. You're absolutely right that when you start a new service or a new sector of the market, you hardly have any data. But having said that, it is the data which we had to rely on when it came to dropping the minimum order value, when it came to choosing the right product, when it came to looking at the delivery services or the areas we would like to cover on a particular day for a same day delivery services, a lot of these things. But we were very fortunate in a sense that collecting data didn't take us that long period. What would be the case under normal circumstances, because of the panic around the country and the failure of the retailers, we managed to capture a lot of our consumer data in a very short period of time. Just to put things in perspective, in last 4 weeks, we had more than 30,000 consumer accounts opened in our system. I mean, that is something is unheard of, especially within our sector of the business. We never had that that surge. So on a given day, we may under normal circumstances get 50, 60 accounts, but we were hitting 1,000 accounts and some of the days even more. So capturing the data was pretty quick, thanks to the circumstances in the market. But everything we do evolves around data, because nowadays you can no longer shoot in the dark and hope for the best. That's for sure. If you want to run it in a very smooth and very optimized way without incurring overstocking situation or understocking situation when it comes to products, or managing your suppliers in terms of payments, managing your customers in terms of your expectations. But one thing, again, it brings back the technology component into the equation. In order to capture data and in order to make sense of data, you need to have the right technical tools in order to dig into your data and get great insight out of it, which will then in turn help you to come to the right business decisions. If a product is successful or not, or if a customer is spending the right amount of time on your website, or didn't give you enough time on the website and left you, why did he leave? Was it the look and feel of the website? Was it the product, or was it the service level? Was it the minimum order value they couldn't reach? So all of these things only can surface if you use your data, dig into it, and surface it in a meaningful manner. Hope that explains your curiosity around the data aspect of running our business.
Brilliant. I'm delighted to hear it. And I guess this is the most obvious final question, which you may guess is coming this way. Is direct to consumer, is home delivery, is this here to stay now at JJ?
You know, it's been a blessing in disguise that we did find this new avenue, which we may not have been bold enough in the past to explore. So now we are in it. Now we see the pros and cons and do's and don'ts. And as we are learning, it is surely to be another sector of the market we would like to stay and explore and improve on. So yeah, it is. We don't see that as a short-term thing. It is definitely something we wouldn't probably proactively explore under normal circumstances. But the fact that it has now happened, it is definitely a nice thing to have on top of everything else we have. And it also gives you the business diversification, which under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be as fast pace as one would expect. And we see that as a normal thing, like when we introduce new categories. So within the food service sector, in the last 5 years, we had so many new categories introduced, which we didn't have. So we look at it as okay, this is a new segment of the market we have introduced, and there is no reason to discontinue that. We look at it as a positive event for us. So it is there to stay.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I mean, that's in the last 15 minutes of that, you've covered so much. You've talked about your fight for survival. That's how you started. The last 4 weeks has been an MBA for the management team at your business, and I guess everyone else's business. You turned your business around in 8 hours flat, from, I think you said 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You've got your own internal descriptor of PPT rather than PPE, people, process, technology, and data and technology is everything, and powering the company. And you know, those 30,000 consumer accounts in such a short period of time is a tremendous achievement. So congratulations to you and to all of the team.
Thank you very much, Tom. It is definitely a teamwork, and as I said, it's the culture of the company and the people, processes, and technology which helped us to make this happen. So as I said, from cleaners to CEO, everybody jumped into this crisis period to make these things happen. And the credit goes to the entire JJ team.